In today's video, I'm going to talk a bit about what I've observed with the Rollei 35 meter and its galvanometer movement and how the current flows and a few of the fine points I picked up on working on it. This camera had a shutter problem, and in dealing with that, I got that resolved fairly straightforward. I took care of that. And there's some interesting things about the meter assembly. First off, it comes out fairly easy. It's not that big a deal. There's a screw over here, and I believe, let's see, where's the other one? Yes, the other one is over here. This one is not used. And over here, this one is of special interest. You'll notice that there's no hole over there. These two are for the movement itself. And let's see, am I overlooking anything? Yeah, and of course, yeah, I think I mentioned this one. So you have 1, 2, 3 screws holding it down, and these two are for the galvanometer. The first thing I did was simply peel back the felt. I guess this is intended to be possibly to light leaks, but whatever it is. Anyhow, it's a kind of a felt, and it's kind of lousy condition, but I might replace it. I might just leave it the way it is. I'm not sure yet. And then, of course, you have, it goes like this. And when this is in place, it's actually kind of, when you first look at it, you say to yourself, wow, there's screws everywhere. This looks like it's like from watch movement, and you have all this, and it looks a little bit like what's going to happen if you remove this? Really nothing. Take this cover off, and this is what you have. And everything stays put. This, of course, if you're familiar with how the meter works, is some moving parts, and you get your F number and ISO and all that, and that you come up with the ideal setting, and then match up everything, and away you go. So what's interesting about this, though, is this screw. Notice there's no paint on it. It's metal, and I wondered, why is that? Well, it turns out this is how the battery, the plus battery power flows in this camera. You have your battery, of course, and the cap screws down. Well, it's upside down, but I think you know how this goes. This goes like this. So this becomes plus battery. It screws into the frame. It does not screw into the plastic housing in any way. Screws into the frame. So the frame, the chassis of the camera becomes plus battery. So what I thought was interesting was that at first glance, I thought, okay, I can see a battery connection over here. This is the negative. And on a lot of these Rollei 35s, this connection goes bad. This needs to be soldered to this, and I'm going to get to that, but this is the negative. It goes to the photocell, and you have variable resistors over here. And then I'm looking at what's coming out of this over here. There's the blue and the red that come out, and they went over here, and the plus, I believe, goes over here. Oops, there we go, right there. Blue over here, red over here. But I'm thinking, how does the plus get in here? It turns out it's a rather funny route it takes. Since the positive goes through the camera frame, it then goes to here. This becomes plus. That in turn is this is all conductive. When the galvanometer is in place, then this becomes plus the frame, and then this red wire, it's not positive going in, it's positive going out, and it makes its way through the frame and through the hairspring, which is, let's see if I can get a better view of it. Oh, my finger's getting in the way. There you go. A little closer. There's the hairspring, and right about there, that's where it connects to the actual movement itself. And in there you have a lot of turns of wire, and that's where you get the motion. And then on this side, the electrical connection here, this plus red wire is really just connected to the frame. It's not connecting to the galvanometer in any way, but the blue is. This is not, this is a metal piece that's pushed onto, this is plastic. It's hard to get this in focus, but let's see. There's a plastic piece that goes around here, out of focus. Let's see, let me get this a little better. Okay. So this is isolated from this. You kind of see this shape here. This is plastic. It goes out like this, and it's kind of glued onto the frame. I guess it's held down mechanically, but this is isolated from this. Now this goes down to the hairspring right there. Now you can see it, and that eventually makes its way to the coil of the galvanometer. So that's kind of interesting how the positive flows on this. And then this, of course, goes back to the, makes its way back to the network over here, all the resistors and all. So that's kind of curious how it does that. And one thing I wanted to point out is how this attaches. When this is in here, like so, there are 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The larger ones hold down and go into the plastic housing. These 2 are very short screws. These are the longer ones. These 2 are very, very short, and those go into the frame of the galvanometer itself. So when you, I guess, put that in first and then just drop in it. Or if you want, what I first did was when I opened this up, I just took out all 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just lifted up the cover, and galvanometer is just sitting there. And also, I should mention that there's a hole in the bottom. Again, forgive the focusing. There's a hole in the bottom for the wires to exit, and then it's just tapes over. So that's a little curious how the positive flows on this camera. And that's it for today. Thanks.